Now, how many of you heard of cholesterol? Raise your hand. You know, the substance cholesterol. Okay, good. Now, I'm here to tell you that there's not a single disease that's caused by elevated blood cholesterol. There's not a single disease that's caused by elevated blood cholesterol. Elevated blood cholesterol is a red warning light. How many of you have ever seen the red warning light in the dashboard of a car? Whether it turns on or not, you know there's a red warning light, right? If something's going on with the engine. Can you name me anything any mechanical or chemical or electrical thing that the red warning light inflicts upon your vehicle? No, the red warning light, as the name implies, it warns you that something bad's going on. You need to add more coolant, you need to add more oil, you may have blown a head gasket, you don't want to drive that, you want to get towed in so you can get the engine fixed. That's what the red warning light is warning you, right? Well, elevated blood cholesterol is a warning. I wrote that up in 1971. It was published, it was like translated into 6 languages in a Danish pathology journal, Acta Pathologica, and it was a big thing. And I compared clogged arteries in vegans versus meat eaters. Vegans, of course, I think you're all young enough to know vegans are people who are vegetarians who eat nothing but grains, vegetables, fruits, and nuts, no animal products, and they believe that's a healthy thing. But I don't believe it's healthy. This is a political statement because they say, okay, well, one cow eats as much food as 50 people. If we're all eat stuff like cows, and get the cow out of the cycle, we can feed 50 more people, right? I mean, that's how vegans think. Well, a cow has 4 stomachs. You can't process grass the same way a cow does. You got 50,000 little helpers in there. I mean 50,000 individual organisms, 50,000 different species of individual organisms. You've got billions and billions and billions of little organisms there that do things that you don't have the capacity to do. So you can't live on pasture grass like a cow. So being a vegan is a political statement rather than a nutritional statement, right? So what he did, when you do 20,000 plus autopsies in all these different species and 3,000 humans, 10 million slides, 10 million chemistries, you can write a lot of articles, which I did, right? One of which was comparing the amount of clogging of the coronary arteries in vegans versus meat eaters. Guess who had the worst clogged arteries? Vegans. Because of poorly stored grains, the oils in the grains oxidize and turn into trans fatty acids, free radicals, which inflame the arteries and cause them to clog. Another thing that happens with vegans, they stir fry organic vegetables in extra virgin olive oil. Turns into trans fatty acids, inflames your arteries and clogs your arteries. Somebody lives on, the meat and potatoes guy, as long as he's not burning the meat, if he's eating his meat raw, or medium rare, and having some baked potatoes, he won't get clogged arteries because there's no trans fatty acids in any of that. You're getting a picture here. So just because somebody says something's good, when you have to look at it and see if it really is. Well, again, cholesterol is not bad. If you have elevated blood cholesterol, the normal cholesterol for human beings, the normal range is 220 to 270. 220 to 270 is the normal range. And if you have a blood cholesterol without medication that's below 200, you have gluten intolerance because you can't absorb cholesterol. I've seen people with cholesterol at 60 and their doctors, man, you can eat 10 eggs a day and not worry about it. You got cholesterol 90, man, you're lucky. No, you're dying because you have gluten intolerance. You can't absorb cholesterol, which is a very big, complicated molecule. Okay? So, FDA adds new safety information to statin drugs, cholesterol-lowering drugs. February 2012. Federal health officials are adding new safety warnings about the risk of statin drugs for memory loss, Alzheimer's disease, and elevated blood sugar. If you take statin drugs to lower your cholesterol for 10 years, and at the same time you're on a cholesterol-restricted diet, you're going to increase your risk of Alzheimer's disease by 100%. In other words, you're going to get Alzheimer's disease as predictable as gravity. I'll tell you why in a minute. Also, if you're on statin drugs to lower your cholesterol and you have a cholesterol-restricted diet for 10 years, you increase your risk of type 2 diabetes by 50%. What causes elevated blood cholesterol and triglycerides is it's a red warning light for diabetes, it's a red warning light for low thyroid, it's a red warning light for deficiencies of 6 different minerals. It in itself causes nothing. I said that in 1971, and everybody, I shouldn't say everybody, there was 25 doctors I used to hang around with, And of course, they just put their arms around me and said, oh, Wallach, I mean, you know, you must be sniffing glue. Everybody knows it's the cholesterol, man. Well, they all took their statin drugs, and guess what? They're all dead, I'm alive. God is good. Okay. Science News is kind of a summary journal for doctors. They look at thousands of scientific articles written every month, and they summarize them so doctors can read the summaries, which usually are a half a page. And if they like something, they can send somebody to get the entire article. They don't have to read thousands of articles. This came out in June of this year. Good cholesterol, not so beneficial. Higher HDL, high density lipoprotein, the good cholesterol, don't reduce heart attacks. I said that in 1971. Everybody laughed at me. Now it's published. You can go back and read it. Okay? And so it's nice to be redeemed a little bit, right? I'm going to go to each of their graves and put one of these on there. So if it's not cholesterol that plugs the arteries, what is it? It's inflammation caused the arteries by eating fried foods and eating oils and processed meats with nitrates and nitrites. All the things that turn into trans fatty acids, even at room temperature. You go to a restaurant, well, we're very careful to ask, we want salad, but we want it dry. We don't want any dressing on it. You know, when I go to a restaurant, I have all my eggs poached. At home, I'll soft scramble my eggs in butter because I know I'm using butter. If I ask the cook in an IHOP or a Denny's to scramble my eggs in butter, you know what they're going to do? They're going to use honey that tastes like butter because it's cheaper. And they think they're doing me a favor because it's, you know, it's an oil or a margarine. I want to be like George Francis. It'd be 112, at least. Okay? So the secret killer is not cholesterol. How many of you heard of the Saturday Evening Post? See, young people don't even know it. I thought it was a dead magazine. Ted, I didn't even know it still existed. This is a May-June 2012 issue, cover article. Pill shocker, cholesterol meds may be useless. They left out two words. They should have said cholesterol meds may be useless and dangerous. Article's title was The Cholesterol Conundrum. One of the doctors interviewed for the information in that article said, everything you've heard about cholesterol and heart disease is wrong. Who told everybody that? Doctors. And then a summary of speaking to 12 different doctors. These authors of this article spoke to 12 different doctors who were primarily heads of the departments of cardiology at medical school, said, here's the summary, cholesterol levels are actually a fairly weak predictor of who will have a heart attack. What? What? Now this is just the opposite of what they said even 2 weeks before this article came out. Now I said this in 71, and they thought I was an idiot. Now they're saying what I said 41 years earlier. Okay? Cholesterol levels are actually a fairly weak predictor of who will have a heart attack, because that's true. Cholesterol has nothing to do with a heart attack. You saw this one earlier. Now this will mean something to you. Good cholesterol, not so beneficial. Higher HDL, high-density lipoproteins, the good cholesterol levels don't reduce heart attacks. Lowering your cholesterol of any kind, good or bad, doesn't reduce heart attacks because it doesn't cause it. You spent $1 trillion a year for 50 years for nothing. You spent all that money and all that energy and all that consideration and eating stupidly, and you're ranked 92nd in the world in healthfulness, 60th in longevity. That's what you got for following the doctor's instructions. All these illiterate people out there doing just the opposite of what doctors say, just because they're illiterate, live to be 112. Pediatricians want in on the largesse now. They want to get the kickbacks too, so they're going to start giving 8-year-olds statin drugs to lower their cholesterol, because they think if we lower the cholesterol levels in kids 8 years old, we'll prevent heart disease in adults. And what you're going to say is, no! Do not let them give your kids cholesterol-lowering drugs, because they will die before they're 20, and you will be standing at a gravesite burying your children. And the last thing I'm going to share with you is my favorite article on cholesterol. We'll talk about high blood pressure and I'll be done. This is the last one on cholesterol, but it's my favorite article on cholesterol. Normal cholesterol in an 88-year-old man, let's call him Frank, who eats 25 eggs a day. Published in the New England Journal of Medicine. This is not a big study. This is a case report, but it's very valuable. This guy, Frank, goes in 88 years old for his annual physical, and Dr. Kern, who's a clinical doctor in the outpatient clinic at Harvard Medical School, which teaches young doctors how to be doctors, and that's scary. And Dr. Kern comes to Frank and says, look, you're in pretty good shape for 88 years old. Man, we couldn't find anything wrong with you. I'm going to reward you. I'm going to give you a prescription of Viagra. And so Frank stands up and kind of lifts up his belt, and throws his shoulders back and says, well, I'm pretty good in that area. I don't need no Viagra. So the doctor says, really? What do you do? What do you do to be good in that area? He says, well, I eat 25 eggs a day. And the doctor says, what? The doctor's having a heart attack. What? You eat 25 eggs a day? So the doctor runs it back into the lab, and he reruns it himself. He couldn't believe the numbers. So he comes back and says, well, your blood cholesterol is 190 without medication. And why do you eat 25 eggs a day? He says, well, it makes me more studly. Now I want you to think about it. How many of you have heard of estrogen and progesterone? Okay, that's 2 steroid hormones. How many of you heard of adrenal hormones? Okay, that's another steroid hormone. How many of you heard of testosterone? It's another steroid hormone. Those 4 hormones are steroid hormones. And they're 95% by weight cholesterol. So you go on a cholesterol restricted diet, you take cholesterol lowering drugs, and there ain't nobody home anymore. Okay? You have erectile dysfunction. That's why they have so many ads on TV after 10 o'clock at night. There's Bob selling Enzyte. And the one I really love is Cialis. This couple on the beach in the bathtubs. Now their genetic line is going to die out. They're very stupid. You got to be in the same bathtub before there's the right moment. I mean, 2 slabs of cast iron in between, there ain't nothing going to happen. No matter how good your erection is, right? Now, so, he eats 6 to 8 eggs a day. And, Ted's and his wife Nasima, Brandy, they always eat with me a lot on the road. When I go to these places, I'll have a big steak. If it's breakfast time, I'll have 4 eggs that are poached with a big hamburger patty or breakfast steak. And you can see all the people in the place are eating their organic multigrain waffles looking at me. And they don't even know it. They're dead men walking. So you take your 90 essential nutrients. We actually have an aphrodisiac called Drive. It's a little capsule. And the main ingredient is an herb in it. It's an Asian herb called Harney goatweed. It's a great little herb called Drive. We add that to our, I'll tell you a couple of other things, a lot of fun.